but I'm not sure when. So, yeah, that's the kitchen, and I love it.
Yeah,
I've been here 8 years. Yeah,
that sounds like about the right timing, yes.
yeah, from maybe the 70s or 80s, maybe
Yeah,
80s. Yeah, yeah.
probably, yes. We moved here in what, 77, something like that. So yeah, the timing. Right.
Yeah, yeah. And I love wood, so everybody's going for paint now, but I still love the wood.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So,
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Skip.
Hey. Trying to adjust the screen here. It doesn't seem to be opening all the way.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, there we go. Now I got most everybody.
See what's going on here. Huh. So I'm only seeing half of people's heads in my screen.
Yeah, me too.
So that's just not on my. Kevin, do you know why that might be?
No, I see everybody in full camera.
I do
What?
too.
What do you click on? Click on view, and what do you have? I clicked multi-speaker, and I've got everybody, but they're small. But I've
Do
only
you
got
do,
4 or 5 of us.
do you view gallery? Then you should get everybody.
We tried that.
Yeah, that helped.
Oh, there you go. Gallery was better. Okay.
Okay.
Everybody's teeny tiny. I'll enlarge it. There we go.
That's not an invitation. That's not an
It says
invitation.
meeting-
I'll have to, I'll have to
held-
sit with you. Unless someone else can send me an invitation.
Linda or Skip, could somebody else send Stephen an invitation? I tried to and it didn't work.
That's funny. He was on the list, wasn't he? Can you send him something, Kevin?
Yeah, what's your email address there, Stephen?
SQS1 at columbia.edu. Sierra, Quebec, Sierra 1.
SQS1 at Columbia EDU. Got it. All right, hang on.
Thank you. I'll go look.
Oh.
Leslie's not going to be able to come. She called. She emailed me. Kevin's here. Kevin.
My view screen is filling out the
What's going on?
my whole screen. It's okay, I can see it.
Zach's here. It's good.
I can't make it.
Did Stephen get on?
I'm not sure. Stephen, did you get on?
It looked like it.
Yeah. I can't view the other participants for some reason.
Well, we can't see you either. You got your video on?
Yes, I'm going to. There.
There you go.
Okay.
Can you see everybody else now?
Yes, but I can't make it go back and forth. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Is my video on?
Look at the stove.
Yep, I can see Mike.
Just sit in with you.
You can't.
I didn't get it.
Oh dear. Stephen's going to sit with me because he didn't get the invitation.
Okay. Well, we can see him too now.
Okay,
Hey,
good.
Stephen.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Okay. So Zach, are you here? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. I'm driving home at the moment.
Okay. All right. Don't be a distracted driver.
No, that's all right. You're hooked up to my vehicle.
Okay, all right. Okay. So I guess this is it. Carol's here. I don't see Nicole's not here. Who else isn't here?
I can't make it go back.
Leslie. Oh, well, so anyway, welcome everybody to the first of the year. Everybody got the minutes. Mary and I went over them and got them back to Kevin, and he brought them out to you. Is there any other changes that anybody sees that they'd like to make?
Skip, I just wanted to mention, Kevin, at the very top of the minutes, the headline Climate Smart Societies Task Force, that really has to get taken out of there because we're not dividing the meetings up as we had previously. The task force was one section of the meeting, the CAC was the other section of the meeting. So now since we've reorganized, it's the CAC meeting. So we just really don't need that at the
Got it.
top minutes.
Okay, no problem.
The other question I had is I noticed that Underwood Carol was talking about the town had adopted a policy for the EV infrastructure. And it says in the minutes, the town had adopted zoning policies. And I wasn't sure if that's the correct way to say it, Carol. Carol, you're muted.
Right again. No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's the zoning. I guess, would it be under zoning? If we have a policy of requiring EVs?
But if there was an amendment to the zoning, wouldn't we have had to have a public hearing? And wouldn't we have to, maybe 2 public hearings? Do we, Zach, you probably know the answer to that.
I don't know the answer.
And a zoning
Yes,
change
we would have
without,
had to. Yeah.
That would have required 2 public hearings.
yeah, that's what I thought. So maybe just to change the terminology. And maybe just say the town adopted a measure, a policy, whatever it was, Zach. I don't know. I wasn't even aware until Carol brought it up at the last meeting.
Right. The town agreed that at least the planning board's been following this, that we would require at least one on all developments, at least one EV plug-in for, I think it was 10 parking lots or something like that.
10 parking spots, you mean?
Parking spots,
Parking spots.
units. I don't
So
know.
what would that be if that's not a zoning change? I
Yeah, I
mean, I
don't
don't know how important it is, but we should probably probably understand what that means. Whether
Yeah,
it's
that's a
zoning
good
change
question.
or not.
I can ask, I know Steve was the one who had gone in front of the town board and was probably what, 2-3 years ago at this point, when Steve was still here. And the town adopted it, whatever they adopted, the resolution, could it be a resolution to provide, to require this? Is that
Yeah,
possible?
it's possible at the top of my head. I would have to go back because if it's, I'm trying to recall when that may have been. I would imagine I was on the board at the time. I just don't recall off the top of my head.
Yeah,
The
sorry.
conversation.
So maybe
I'll
what
look
we
into
should do,
it.
excuse me, maybe what we should do is table the approval of the minutes until we get this straightened out.
Okay, so Zach, you can search that out and find the right terminology.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. Okay,
I'm
we'll do that.
Not a problem.
Okay, good. Right, guests. Rick Cousins was going to come, but he said he couldn't come. Mary McNamara's here. Hey, Mary. Can you hear us?
Hi, everyone. Yes.
Great.
Hi,
And
Mary.
of course, our favorite there, Kathleen Gray. How you doing, Kathleen?
Thank you. I'm recuperating from a trip to New Mexico. My daughter moved from Florida to New Mexico and she had to bring her car there. So I said, "You're not going alone. I'll come down and go with you." So my oldest son and my daughter and I, the 3 of us, made the trip from Florida to New
Lovely.
Mexico.
It's quite the trek, but
Yeah, a lot of flat country. We saw a lot of flat country in Dallas and in Texas and New
But
Mexico.
Texas
No
Panhandle.
mountains.
Okay, so organization. So I agreed to be chair last year till December, and I made it through that far. And apparently the town board has designated me chairman again, but I thought I ought to get your approval also. I wanted to say this is, it's, you know, I don't know if I can fill Mary's shoes. Mary's done such a great job. So one of the things we did to help that out is she was both chair and coordinator of the task force. So Linda has graciously and bravely uh, volunteered to be the coordinator for the task force. So I'm going to be the chair and she will be the coordinator. And also about meeting lengths, that seems to be a bugaboo for a lot of folks, and I understand why. So what I'm doing more is attaching a lot of information before and during the agenda and sometimes after, information about things that we want to talk about so that we're all up to speed about talking about those. So the time doesn't have to be taken explaining the basic issues that we're going to talk about, but we can discuss what we want to do about them. So it provides an opportunity to be up to speed on these issues. So it's really important to read the attachments and things so you're up to speed on what's going to happen. That'll really help the length of the meetings. And also it'll bring up questions that you might not have had before too. So if you'll cooperate doing that, I will be your chair. So
Okay.
any comments?
I'll do my best.
You know, that doesn't sound like a total commitment to me.
Oh, it's total commitment.
You
My
say that at
best
the
is
marriage?
total commitment.
I'll do my best.
Yeah, well, that's my total
You're doing
commitment.
great.
That's,
Right.
that's true for everybody.
Thank you very
Okay.
much for
It's
taking
more than
over.
best.
Well,
Okay.
I'll make a
Skip,
formal,
if I can just,
I was
Yep.
gonna make a formal motion that we elect Skip as chair.
Okay, let's use our hands. That's one thing that helps. Zach wanted to say something. So Zach?
yes, I apologize for interrupting, but
No.
congratulations on the chairmanship. I just wanted to interject and just confirm that at our next board meeting, we will correct that motion appointing Linda as coordinator.
Okay, great. Great. Okay,
Excuse me.
Mike?
Yeah, just,
Well, you said you needed a vote of confidence from
Yes.
us. So I'm making the motion
Okay,
to elect you as the chair for this year.
okay.
And we need a second.
Anybody want a second? Okay,
I second.
okay. All in favor?
We can
Aye.
raise our hands.
Okay, okay, damn. Okay, so, so Mike has graciously said that he would be co-chair in case I can't be here. He will run the meetings if I'm not around. So you want to do a co-chair vote for Mike?
Skip, just as a matter of, I'm not really a co-chair. I'd rather be called the vice chair.
Okay,
Oh, that makes
So
sense.
that
okay.
I don't have any.
You got it. You got it. I understand.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yep, I do.
And I'm willing
Totally.
to run the meetings and help you in any way that I can behind the
That's what
scenes.
you have been, which is great. I really appreciate both you
Okay,
and Mary's help. So I nominate Mike for vice chair. Does anybody else want to second it?
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye, okay, great.
thank you.
All right, and then Kevin has graciously offered to continue as secretary. He's not actually a member of the CAC, but he's been doing our secretaries and running the Zoom. And we pay him a huge sum of $20 an hour to do so, which I think is a favor. So I don't think we have to vote on it. Maybe we should vote on it. I would put up that Kevin should be secretary again. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Everybody? Okay, great. All right. So when we have a new member with us, Steve Schaefer, who's sitting next to Elizabeth Schaefer. Steve's been involved, even though he wasn't involved. He's done a great job of research on the DGEIS and other things in the town previous. He's great at researching stuff and putting the information out here. And as I passed around his comment on the DGEIS, which most of our comments were covered, and Steve found something that wasn't covered by what Adriana had submitted for the complete documents, and wrote a great, piece on that, a great question on that. So I think he's really going to be a big help, not only in the research, but coaching us on how to put these questions forward when we need to, when the public comment period happens for the DGEIS. So I think everybody knows Steve anyway, but I just thought I would.
Thank you, Skip.
He's here.
Those are very hard shoes to fill. that
You already,
gave me.
they're
Okay.
your shoes.
But I think Terry should be aware that
He
he
did.
wasn't sent an invitation.
It's Kevin.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
But
No,
make-
no,
make-
Terry
I think he
would,
was. I think he was. I saw it.
really. Well,
Okay,
anyway.
I will talk to Carrie and make sure that, I thought he was given,
I got agenda items and stuff, but I didn't get.
you didn't get anything from
I
Terry Wood?
didn't get something with a Zoom link.
No. This is through your email. You should have gotten something from Terry Wood.
Yeah.
I got a congratulations.
Okay,
you go.
There you go. Yeah, you're
I'll
in.
make sure, I'll make
Yeah.
sure Stephen's on future correspondence, and just for note, the agenda, both what's sent out and posted on the Sorgerty's website has the link for the meeting as well.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. That'll work.
No, we mean for making a confirmation from the town board, they have to do that for all the members. So, and I think they did that. So if you got a congratulations, then you got it.
Skip, if I may just mention, just housekeeping business, then Steve is going to have to be, his name is going to have to be added to the page on our CAC website.
Okay,
Unless Mike has done that already. I don't know, Kevin.
I will check with Mike and
Yeah,
find out.
I'll follow up with Mike on that too.
Okay, great, good. And there's also Mary, who's been such a great help to us, such a leader, who's leaving, but she says she's sticking around. And I think on the website, we should have her as member emerita on the website, because she's still going to be helping us out. And I think we should honor her with that also. So if everybody's in agreement, we can have more discussion about, do you understand? There's a listing of all the members of the CAC on the website. Spiders is an honorary member because he gave so much. And Mary should be there as a member and chair emerita because of all that she's given. And she's still going to be with us, believe me. I hope. And Linda should hope too.
Oh, most definitely. I have her phone
Right.
number, so.
She's on speed dial for Linda.
Mhm, mhm.
I know where she's at.
So I move that we list Mary as chair emerita on the CAC list on the website.
I second.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Hi.
Okay. Thank you, Mary. You've been done such a great job, and it's just look what Linda did.
What happened?
Okay, thank you, Skip. Thank you, guys.
Well, thank you. Okay. So we're going to the Climate Smart Task Force section. So Linda has graciously and bravely volunteered to be coordinator. So do you want to say anything, Linda, or should we just vote on you?
Remember, I'm still the new kid on the block, and I'm going to defer to Mary for now, and she'll take you through tonight's stuff. And then from here on, I'll attempt to do my best.
Right. Okay, good. Okay, I'm very thankful. So I would nominate Linda as coordinator for the Climate Smart Task Force.
Second.
Second.
Okay. And all in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Yeah. Okay, great. Congratulations.
I guess thank you is in order.
Thank you, Linda.
So now we have the approving of the duties of the coordinator. I got that, but I don't know if the rest of you got that.
Mm-mm.
Did anybody get that?
No.
Mary had sent it around.
Excuse me, Skip, if I can jump in here. I asked Kevin to screen share it. Kevin, can you?
Oh, okay. Okay, great. Good. All right.
All right, give me 1 second.
While Kevin is
So the-
doing that, I'll just by way of background, the duties were established in 2018 when I was first appointed. So I took a look at them. Linda and I spoke on the phone and we came up with a revised list of the duties or the role of the coordinator. So this is a draft that Linda and I went over. And now it is before the commission to agree to these to this being the duties of the coordinator.
So Mary, what I see is the outreach plan. It's not that, is it?
No, it's the other one. You know what? Maybe I could screen. Can you allow me to screen share?
Yeah, I will. Let me make you a co-host. There we go. You
Okay,
should have that ability now.
hold on. Let me do this. I sent them to you, I think maybe sometime.
My copy, it says January 16th at 12:35 PM.
Well, that's.
Okay, share screen. Okay.
All right, hang on. I can do that. That's pretty. You're gonna see my Gmail. Hang on 1 second.
Oh, here.
Okay, we got it.
You make it a bit larger?
You can do
It's
that.
happening. We're not seeing the bottom of it. There you go.
There you go. Okay, so let me see if I can get back up here. Oh, well, I don't need to be on camera. Okay, so these are the duties. I'll make it,
There,
Look.
that's better.
There, that's better.
That's much
Okay.
better.
okay, so update the CAC on task force activities, coordinate the work of the task force members, coordinate with the CAC chair, prepare task force correspondence, inform the town board of task force work via town board liaison, consult with Hudson Valley Regional Council coordinator as needed, work on New York State climate-related programs such as Climate Smart Communities program, collect and post documentation on the CSC portal, partner with Ulster County and climate-related initiatives and programs as needed. So if there's anything there that you think we need to add or anything, maybe rephrase it a different way, Skip, we particularly put in there, coordinate with the CAC chair. So I don't know if there's anything in there that you feel we could put in that would be helpful to you.
Well, no, I think that's a pretty broad
Oh.
category,
I do have a question. The second one, coordinate the work of the task force members. Does that mean that the coordinator checks up on what each task force member is responsible for and doing?
I think like what we did in the past, for example, if we were working on an action, let's say, and Elizabeth, you were researching some part of it, and Skip, I'll use the LED lighting, the interior LED lighting, and Skip was working on a part of it. The coordinator would then, just bring those pieces together, let's say, so that when we were ready to post the action that we did, LED lighting at Town Hall, that coordinator would put all
Okay.
those pieces together if we were working on a particular action.
I
So
see.
Basically,
Okay.
I had volunteered to work on that issue. So I gathered the information that was requisite for, meeting the requirements of that action
right,
and got them to Mary. So it would be surely people who volunteer to something should take action to get a hold of Linda. Linda shouldn't really have to lasso everybody. When you
Yeah.
take on an assignment, you should do it and then get back to Linda. Then Linda could coordinate what's happening. And if she sees something not, happening that was assigned, then she can get out. But really, it should, as much support as we can give Linda in these tasks, because it's really a big job she took on here. So
Basically, I need to be in the know.
yes,
Right.
and not have to run after us all the time, to
Yeah.
get information. So coordinating doesn't mean making sure calling us up every day. So, did you do homework? We should really take the initiative and do the stuff that we say we do, and then get back to Linda, and give her the information,
Oh.
as soon as
However,
possible.
I do know how to track you all down, so
Right.
I can do that as needed.
But I'm just encouraging people that
Mhm.
she's taken on a big job and that we should, support her in that efforts by, reaching out to her rather than having her have to chase us down all the time. So
Mhm.
I know that's a problem sometimes when you take leadership, all of a sudden you're calling up everybody at all hours of the night trying to get information. We should, respect what she's doing and really, bring the information forward when we need to. So
Is there a list somewhere for contact information for everybody now on the board? I mean, I have the emails, obviously, but it would be great to have phone numbers or something like that.
Exactly.
I could put something together for you and send that over.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. That would be great. Yeah.
Not a problem. I'll send it to everybody just so everybody can have it as a reference.
that'd be great. Thanks, Zach.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Okay, so are we in agreement then to adopt this document as the duties of the coordinator? Any other? Okay. I move that we adopt the responsibilities of the coordinator as presented herein.
Okay.
I'll second.
I'll second.
What's the date of this draft?
January, I think it's the 12th. If I go, let me scroll down, January 12th.
So we'll have that in the motion.
Yes.
Okay, good. I second that.
I do too.
Yeah. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All righty. Let me see. A bunch of shit just came up on this thing here. Okay, where are we? Coordinator report. Now that you're coordinator, what do you have to report?
Hey, I just appointed. I think Mary's going to take care of that tonight, and I'll be on from now on.
Okay, let's see. I am now, since my screen went off,
Yeah.
I am on full screen. Are you seeing, does everybody now see the gallery?
We see gallery.
Yes.
Oh, gallery, yeah.
Okay, so it doesn't
Yeah.
matter that
You're looking good, Mary.
I'm trying to get out of here. What is
Not going to happen.
going on? Oh, wait a second. Was it pinned? Yes, I did it. Great. Okay. So as far as the coordinator report, I'll just, I think, reiterate what I said earlier, that Linda and I met, we agreed on the duties. Linda has been very conscientious. We've been working on the Climate Smart Communities program. Linda is familiarizing herself with the program, and we spent some time, which is really, how shall I phrase this? Working on the CSC portal. Linda and I were working on the CSC portal. So I've gotten Linda onto the portal. She is a contributor. Linda will now be able to post on the portal any of the actions that we need to get posted. So that, Linda, yes?
Do I need approval from the town board before I can get access to that? I think that's what we mentioned. Or no?
The town board is going to approve you as coordinator
Yes.
Right.
on
Yeah.
January 22nd. So the fact that you're on there now, we're just a little bit ahead of the, the head of, yeah.
Great. Okay.
So Linda's familiarizing herself with the portal and the CSC program. And Linda and I will be talking, I'm sure, regularly as we go forward. What are the other aspects that she is going to want to work on going forward. We discussed the fact that the CEC program is in abeyance at the moment. We don't know, as we said at the last meeting, whether it's going to be eliminated, whether it's going to be updated, whatever. So when Linda and I talked about it, it seemed at this point, working on the CSC program, since it's in place, that would be a logical place to start. But as we all know, as we go forward, things come up, and we jump on it and we do it or we don't do it. So, we're very fluid in that respect. So anything else, Linda,
That pretty much summarizes what we talked about that I recall.
so, okay.
Right, so the climate action plan draft. Mary.
Okay, Kevin, can you pull up the outline that I sent to you?
I'm sorry, which one, Mary?
It's
Public outreach?
Television.
it's called the Outreach Plan Outline.
Yep. Hang
Okay.
on one second.
So while Kevin is doing that, I sent all of you, let me just rewind, start at the beginning. Okay. After the last meeting, I sent the draft Community Climate Action Plan to Eleanor, who is the regional coordinator for Hudson Valley. So she gave me feedback on the plan. And what she said she did say that she thought we would get approved for the plan by the DEC. However, she also said that it would be, and I'm using this word carefully, it would be beneficial if we had an outreach plan in the Community Climate Action Plan, a plan within the plan for outreach. So, and I really do agree with her, because if we are going to have this plan to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in the community, we should have an outreach plan as to how to get the community involved. So rather than go through that big long template that she sent us, that I hope all of you looked at, where they go through everything, I
Yeah.
think 5 pages,
Yeah.
I thought, okay, we don't need to do that. So I did what I call an outline here, so that we could just focus on what I think we should think about being the key points of the outreach plan. So the first paragraph is basically what I took from what you all saw and what the template is that that Eleanor sent. I've highlighted the last sentence because I think this is something that I need more information about. When it talks about involving the community at large, and I highlighted in yellow, but those parts of the community that may be disproportionately impacted or unfairly burdened by climate change. I don't know what portion of our community is disadvantaged. I don't know how to address that. So I'm highlighting that for consideration and or elimination.
That's maybe I'm going to use my hand now, because we should start using our hands, and I didn't do that. So anyway, so I'm raising my hand.
Okay.
So I think that might be aimed at larger communities. We only have 18,000 people, and pretty much we're on the same playing field. I don't know, there's no area of it that's, more disadvantaged than any other, I don't think, in terms of, the effect of climate. So it seems like to me that that would be something for a larger community, where they had, I don't know, a ghetto down by the river that's, getting a bunch of effluents or something like that. So I don't know if that's really relative to us, because of the size of the community and the homogeneity of the community.
So do you want to call on people, Skip?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. At our agency, we do have the disproportionately impacted are usually the people who have to pay more for their fuel usage, and in that they can't afford good homes, and so they live in mobile homes, or that they spend more of their money to stay warm or cool. So that's one way to look at it. And the other one is obviously the resiliency issue of people who live by water, and whether they get disproportionately impacted because of climate change. So I could, if people are interested, I could look at it. I do have some data from through the New York State Community Action Plan and see if there's some way for us to look at it in a different way next time we meet.
Would you do that, please?
Absolutely. Yes. Perfect.
Good.
Mike?
Carol took the words out of my mouth. We did have that resiliency study along the Esopus Creek and other roadways. So there were all parts of the community that would be affected to a larger degree. So I think it should remain in the draft.
Okay. Mary? You're muted, Mary. You're muted, Mary.
I don't know which Mary you're speaking to, so.
I'm sorry, you.
So I would agree with what Carol said, and especially with sea level rise. So, and
Okay.
then maybe Kathleen will speak to it as well, that there are quite a few grants that give extra funding depending upon disadvantaged communities.
Okay. Mary O'Donnell?
Yeah, so I agree with everything that has been said, that we should really include it. My question then is, if this is going to be part of our outreach plan, we have to know who is going to be the person who will kind of loop that part of the community into learning about the plan and being informed about the plan. See, we're not going to help them in any way. This is just a plan to reach out to the community. So we would need somebody then who could kind of take that part of it, that piece of it, and make sure that we do to let them know what the plan is, and maybe by reaching out to that portion of the community, they could give us some ideas as to maybe implementation when we get to that point. So,
Kathleen?
Yeah, I just want to mention that I believe Glasgow may be considered parts of Glasgow disadvantaged, because when I was entering material about the truck purchase, they wanted to know where the trucks were going to be deployed and if one of the trucks was going to be deployed in a disadvantaged area. And they had a lookup map, and I believe Glasgow, because the wastewater treatment plant got one of those electric trucks, that was considered in a disadvantaged area. So, I mean, I would go and check again, but there are maps that come up that you can look at.
Yep.
When you're doing
Absolutely.
this, and I think that was considered an area that was disadvantaged.
So there are maps that would delineate
They
those areas?
identify, yeah, they identify.
Can you get us those maps?
I'll see if I can get that for you, yes.
Okay. So between Carol and you, we could determine the extent that would happen and then the person who would be the outreach person for that would have materials to work with for that thing.
Okay.
Mary McNamara again?
So Mount Marion is one of the DEIJ communities in the town of Saugerties, I recall now.
Okay.
All right. Any others want to comment? Okay.
Linda does.
her hand up.
Yeah, I can't get to my hand raising tool right now. So ever since the screen changed.
It's under React.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the bottom of the screen ever since the screen changed, so I can't get there. But at any rate, yeah, I think it needs to stay in, but identifying it, not just who's close to water, who's on a map, what are the other factors that determine who's going to be disproportionately impacted. I don't know where you find the stats, all the stats for that.
Well, maybe that map that Kathleen mentioned.
Okay.
Between that and what Carol said as parameters. So we'd have a set of parameters and we'd have maps, so we could make a determination that way.
Okay.
Okay. Any others?
Yeah.
Did you want to speak again, Kathleen? Your hand's still up.
Yeah. Maybe if we reached out to, the HUD woman, Deb Wells. She knows of people who are, they may not actually be in a designated community, but she knows the people that are looking for housing that can't find housing,
Yeah.
affordable housing. So I don't know how those statistics could be used, but that is an issue very much in this community, that there are people that cannot find housing that they can afford.
Mhm.
So that would be a parameter in determining climate change?
I don't know how they would look at those kind of figures. I'm just saying that there are people that may not be counted because they're not in a designated,
Uh-huh.
on a designated map.
Okay. Mike?
I'm wondering if we shouldn't change the wording to include that there is a designated maps that would outline those communities. It's kind of open-ended here. I don't know if this means financially burdened or environmentally burdened or both.
Supposed to be talking about
Uh,
the plate shape.
It's not very clear as what's a burdened community mean.
Mike, I know from, just my line of work from a FEMA level, it usually encompasses both environmental and financial impacts. I would
Okay.
imagine that
Yep.
New York State models it very similarly, but I can't speak for certain.
Right. I agree with Zach, and it does encompass, they have a variety of factors that they look at to decide whether you're in a disadvantaged community or not. Kingston, a large part of Kingston is, and some parts, as we know, are in Saugerties. And so I'll try to bring all that information and send it to people as best as I can during the next month and see if it helps identify this. And so Mike, you're suggesting that we could say something as identified by the disadvantaged community maps?
Yeah, that's
Send it
what
by
I
New York
meant.
State, or?
That's not the only.
Yeah, that would give us some parameters.
Right, that's what I meant.
Okay, great. Linda?
So looking at the part of the sentence that Mary has highlighted in yellow, that says, but those parts of the community, could we just take out the but and say, including those parts or as well as those parts? It takes care of them, and then we can decide based on all the information we gather what the parameters are for that.
Mary?
O'Donnell, yeah,
Yes, I'm sorry. Mary O.
that's okay. MOD. Yeah, this is the wording that was in the template that the cohort created that
Oh,
Eleanor sent to
okay.
me.
Okay.
So I put it in there. We can refine it, absolutely, if we want to. So they're comfortable with the wording. They gave it to us.
Yep.
I'm giving it back to them. We're giving it back to them. So okay, so if we were to modify it, maybe disproportionately impacted or as, so.
I'm reading it differently now, so I understand how it does include them. I'm sorry. Yep. Okay.
Mike, are you okay that you were talked about?
No, well, I don't think we should make it more difficult than it is.
Correct.
Might be if they are okay with the wording, then I
Let's
don't
do that.
see we have to get more detailed.
Okay.
Right.
We
Okay.
just have to understand it,
Yep.
Right.
Yeah,
how it applies to our community.
right.
Okay, either Stephen or Elizabeth?
I just, Mary McNamara mentioned the concept of environmental justice communities, which DEC has mapped for the entire state. I've seen the maps, didn't remember that Mount Marion was in there, probably was. I remember parts of
Yeah,
Kingston.
Kingston.
I think we could Carol, you'll be doing that, and I'll take a stab also at bringing out those maps. We can see if there are any other parts of Saugerties
That would be great.
fall there.
Okay.
That's a handy boundary.
Handy tool.
Oh,
Okay.
sure.
So with all that information, that would give us perspective on what's happening in Saugerties, and it may or may not indicate a change in the wording.
Mhm.
You know, and it may say,
That's fine.
okay, this wording works. It would
Mhm.
cover all these people.
Okay.
Okay.
It does, it does.
Okay. So between Carol and Kathleen, then we should have enough information to guide us on whether we needed to change any changes there.
Okay.
Agreed?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay. Okay, Maud.
Okay, moving on. Okay, now we come to what are the components of the plan would be, who would be the outreach team? Who would be the leader? What would be the goals? What would be the objectives, etc. So we have to decide who the team, who the outreach team is going to be. All right, that has to be decided, and the leader of the team. So I thought in order to determine that, let's look at what the goals are, what the objectives are, which it guides us to what the role and what the team would be doing. So, okay. And this is all the draft, folks. This is all the draft. So, and the first sentence there I took from the cohorts template. The town of Saugerties will aim to create a robust outreach and engagement process campaign for its community climate planning efforts. It will begin, this is what the team will be doing. It will begin by posting information about the plan and process on its municipal website and the Climate Smart Task Force, Saugerties Climate Smart Task website for comment. In addition, the team commits to holding at least one public-facing event or workshop. And this is their wording, okay? We could change that in any way that we want, the last sentence of it. We could say hold at least one event or workshop. It could be Zoom. We wouldn't have to say public, but if we want to do a public event, yes, we could do it. Or maybe we just want to do a Zoom event. So that's something that the team would be, that if the task force determines that you guys are going to be the team, then that's something that would be some of your responsibilities. Let's see, where did I
Mary, when you said public, you meant like face to face as opposed to online. So because a Zoom would be public also.
Exactly.
Open to the public. So
Mhm.
the delineating thing you're trying to say is face to face as opposed to online.
Right.
Okay.
So the question there, the reason that's highlighted is because the question is, does the task force want to have a big public event, or do you want to just do something on Zoom, which you could do? It would still be an event. It would still be publicized. The public would still be involved. We could still get feedback. So those would be the two options as to how that would work.
Elizabeth, Stephen?
Yes. Well, I would think that, I mean, I imagine that virtually everyone has Zoom now, but there may be people who don't have Zoom. And so it might be a good idea to offer one public event so that everyone could be included.
Carol?
Is this, what's the time element? Is that for in a year, or is that when you talk about having one event, let's say, are we talking in 2025?
It's up to the, excuse me, it's up to the task force. It's up to the task force, how long you want to do this, when the plan, okay, the first part of that would be when the task force, when the CAC says, okay, we think this plan we approve this draft, we think this is going to work, that it would go to the town board for their review, and then it would go to the public for their comment. So I don't, it's whatever it is, Carol, the way I see it. I don't, as
Okay,
far as I
not
know.
like over the next 5 years, we'll hold one. It's,
Oh, you mean the public event?
yes,
I'm
yes.
sorry. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we just won.
Well, that was the
Whatever.
question.
Am I making sense?
Yeah, I understand that there's a whole long process to getting us even into play, right? We have to get approved, et cetera. And then after that, within that first year, we want to hold, could we say something about giving it a time element?
How do I
So that within that first year, we'll try to hold at least one public facing or public event or workshop.
If everybody wants to add that it would be within a year, sure.
So my question is that it sounds like we're talking about our climate smart task force doing all this, but in what I read from Eleanor, it included more than task force. It included town boards, it included other interested things. So do we want to say that the climate smart task force is responsible for doing all these things, or is it in, like what Eleanor said in the bit larger template, that it's a combination of the town board, of other interested parties, plus the task force to do this? Because it feels like if we say it's just the task force, we're taking on a lot.
That's
We're doing really a lot of other stuff.
Good
So
point.
to take this on, to put this CCAP out and saying, okay, the task force is going to oversee this whole process, that sounds like a big bite. So do we say, much like, I don't know where I read it, but there was a list of people who were involved in doing these tasks that needed to be done, and there was timelines within that template. So I would suggest that we want to get other people involved in this, because between all the things that are coming up, Winston Farm, this leachate thing, this everything, that's a lot of things for
You're right.
9 people to do. So I think we'd want to put a list of people who are going to do this. This team is just more than the CAC or the Climate Smart Task Force part of this effort to do these things. So I would say we would have to reach out and get the town involved, especially, get somebody like Kathy. I mean, Kingston has a designated environmental coordinator on staff to help do all these things. And right now, the town doesn't have that, and we're taking on a lot of stuff. And I think it's a really great thing to get the CCAP out, but to not only develop it, but also take responsibility for implementing the whole thing is a pretty big bite. And just saying. Okay, Elizabeth or Stephen?
I agree. I didn't know that our hand was still up, but
Yes. Mike?
Yeah.
Well, the first paragraph indicates the responsibility of the town of Saugerties.
Right.
And I think that should be emphasized. Basically, it's just indicating that things might be on our website.
Right, but the way we're talking
Doesn't-
about it right
doesn't
now,
it- Excuse me?
the way we're talking about, the way I hear this discussion going,
I know.
is that the Climate Smart Task Force is going to do all this. So I want to make sure that what you're saying, this is a town CCAP. It's not a Climate Smart Task Force CCAP. And that a lot of this outreach and stuff is going to need cooperation of other individuals. We should make it specific that we need partners in doing this, or this is a town partnership thing. And there should be some involvement by the town, other than saying, okay, you guys do it. That it's a bigger, task than I think that we can take on totally. So,
Yeah, I agree.
okay. And Mary O'Donnell?
Yeah, I think what we have to be clear about here is that the team, all the team is doing is the plan. It's the plan. So the team at this point is not implementing anything in the CCAP.
In other words, you're saying that team is saying, okay, we've got to have a public meeting, either video or private,
The plan.
but we're not necessarily doing it.
Right. Well, yes, we could look at it that. What I'm trying to say is that this is our plan. If the task force wants to be the outreach team, if they're the outreach team, then this would be their commitment. Yes, I think we would, the task force would do an event if they were the team. They would be,
If they were the team
if they were the team.
or the total team.
They would do anything that's in these goals, which we just talked about, the website, the objectives to inform the community about the town's CCAP, to solicit feedback from community stakeholders, local organizations, and community at large. That would probably happen at the event, and partner with local organizations to assist in implementation of the plan. So yeah, to partner with other organizations to assist in implementation of the plan. Yeah, no, if we use this draft language, yeah, we would be involved with getting other organizations involved. And then the partners, if you scroll down, it's the partners for the plan would be the town board, the Chamber of Commerce, the Saugerties.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. So that's, the team decides what the plan would be. The community partner engagement would be those who would help and to implement that plan that the team came up with.
Yes, yeah.
I
Because
just wanted to make that clear, because the way, the verbiage was going, the dialogue was going, it sounded like to me that CSC not only makes this plan up, but also arranges, how to do it. And it's a big bite. So if the other people are involved in this, these other, community partners are involved helping do that, it's, would be much better. So much more doable.
yeah, but to that point, Skip, if the task force of the CAC is the team, then somebody on the team would, call up Mark Smith and say, hey, Mark, what do you think the chamber can do to help with this plan? What could the chamber do? Get them involved. And somebody then, I think, on the team would have to go to the superintendent of schools or the president of the school board and say, hey, guys, we got this plan. We want to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. What do you think? How do you think the school district could be helpful in this? And then, the local organizations. So yeah, I think it would be a heavy lift for the task force to do this. But again, breaking it up into who on the task force will be, well, obviously Zach as the liaison, but who's going to work with the chamber to say, hey, how can we work with you guys to do this? What can the chamber do? Who's going to be the person who'll contact the president of the school board and say, hey, school district, let's, how can you help to reduce greenhouse gas emissions? So yeah, it would be a heavy lift. But again, if it's divided among the different, members of the task force, it becomes less onerous. But
well, kind of how I saw this dialogue we're having right now is I thought it was aimed at making the CCA plan visible to other people, seeing them, presenting it to the community, and not necessarily seeing that the parts of it are engaged. I thought that what Eleanor sent us was, okay, you got to have a team to let the community know about your CCA plan. not that there's a plan to actually implement all the modalities in there.
And you
Am
know
I
what?
looking at it wrong? Am I seeing this wrong? What the idea of this outreach and everything was to inform the community about the nature of the plan as opposed to implementing the plan.
That sounds right.
Let me raise my hand.
Go ahead. Mary?
Skip, to that point, if that's what the team's role is going to be, okay, task force says we're the team. This is our role, and this is what we're going to do. We are going to make the plan available to the public.
Knowledge of the plan.
Yeah, we're going to make it, the draft plan, excuse me, available to the public.
Uh-huh.
We're going to just set up a mechanism whereby they can give the feedback to the task force team. We can limit it to that. I took this because Eleanor in that template had all these different components.
I know.
If you remember the template, all these
I
different.
do. It looked onerous.
Yeah, exactly. So just to I think I'm repeating myself now. If you guys want to just say, we'll put the draft plan out there, we'll get the feedback, and then we're done.
Right.
We could do that because, see, this is the thing here. What Eleanor has based this on, and that whole template goes back to the Climate Smart Communities action for outreach and engagement. It's 4 points in the CSC program. And if we wanted to go for the 4 points in the CSC program, this is what we would have to do. And we would have to have one public facing event. We're not saying that right now. We're not saying we're going for that action, for that 4 points. So it's up to the task force. You want to just say, well, this is what the task force will do. We'll put it in the plan and go with it.
Okay. Mike?
I'm definitely more comfortable with what Mary just said in terms of us being a disperser of information to the public and a contact point for the public, and take that as something that's well within our capacity to do. We do it already. We have a website. We have ways to communicate. It doesn't put an added burden on us. And it takes us at, for instance, no one has even talked to the Chamber of Commerce, and yet it's on this document. So I don't think we can do that. So I'm comfortable with us being a disperser of information, and that we do anyway.
Right. And then any of the actions that the CCAP lists, like reducing greenhouse gases, that's going to be the responsibility, not the responsibility of the task force, but of the town or other, probably mostly the town, to see that that's done. We don't have to see that that's done. We just have to disperse the information that that's what we'd like to do. That's the plan.
Yes.
That sounds good to me.
Does everybody understand that and agree?
Yes, because our mission is to give advice to the town, and then they would carry it further. I mean,
Right, because I don't think it's within our abilities to carry out all the implementation of all the items in the plan, but maybe we could take on informing the public about the plan.
Right.
Yes.
Carol?
I guess I was thinking that we would need to engage the town board to have them understand the need to reduce the greenhouse gases. I'm not sure if they've all signed on for that. And so I think community partner engagement, like Mary has on there for the town board, is probably pretty essential. So maybe we could engage, like Zach, I don't know if you're the one who we would engage on this, and you would convince the town to take on the greenhouse gas mitigation program. That was
Mario?
Okay, yeah, okay, I got lost in my own thoughts there, sorry. Yeah, no, what I wanted to say is that for the plan, it's in terms of the plan, the sections are outreach plan, so we could do that. And then there's another section, implementation. So we're not going to get into implementation tonight because this is taking too long. At the next meeting, we'll talk about implementation and nail that one down. So I just wanted to make the distinction between an outreach plan and the implementation. That's all.
Okay. Kathleen?
Yeah, I'm not really a member of your task force, but I just want to throw this out. If you do a plan, you want it to be adopted, right?
Yes.
It's not just an exercise in writing a document. It's something that you want to be realistic, that has a chance of working.
Mhm.
So I'm just wondering if it would be beneficial and if you could have someone from the chamber involved in doing the plan with you and someone from the school district, because those are two entities that have the potential of getting a lot of cooperation for implementing the plan. And I just wonder if it would be better to involve them at the beginning so that you could get feedback from them as you go along.
That would be part of the outreach.
Just my thought.
I should raise my hand. That would be part of the outreach. And we're going to have to get the town board to accept this plan. So if we do outreach, we got a plan together. We send it around to, the chamber, to the schools and stuff like that. Say, what do you guys think of this plan? And get feedback. And then based on that feedback, present it to the town board saying, okay, we wrote this plan. We've got some feedback. Do you guys want to, accept this and vote it in as a resolution? Is that what you would do, Zach?
Yeah, that sounds pretty on par with what I think would happen.
Okay, so we got to write a plan that the town board's going to like, and then if they accept it, then the implementation would happen at that point, that the town would implement the plan that we got together and had outreach to other entities like the school board and like the Chamber of Commerce to get feedback on in our creation of it. That would be our outreach thing. And then the implementation then would be, designated to the town for them to do or to, assign others to do. Okay, Mario?
Yeah, just as you're talking about the process, as I think I said earlier, so the process will be that, well, first of all, you will agree on who the outreach team is and what you're going to do, which is pretty much just letting everybody know about the plan. And then the process would be, we do this outreach, we put it in the plan, we do implementation paragraphs, we put that in the plan. Then it would go, I think, I think it should go to the town board, maybe just generally to say, this is what this is what our draft is, and we're going to put it out to the community. And then as Skip said, the community gives the feedback. And then after we get the feedback, it goes to the town board for approval. That's the way I see the process working.
Okay, good. And Linda?
Yeah, I think I'd have to look back at the chart that had all the possible options, but I think once you've determined who the players are or the potential players are, then the implementation could be devised at that time. Maybe you'd involve the chamber for one facet of it, or the school for another, or reach out to Kiwanis, and other, as they say, other local organizations to see what part they can play in the implementation.
But that would be that implementation, and the assignment of responsibility would be up to the town board.
Mhm.
Okay.
After they accepted, if they said, okay, this plan looks good, you
Mhm.
know, we want this, here's a resolution. And then implementation would happen, and assignment of task would happen,
Right,
from
right.
the town board rather than from us.
But I assume we'd want to be involved in that since that's,
Well,
What
we
we're-
would be involved in something.
Yes,
We wouldn't be the lead agency.
exactly. Okay.
Okay, Mary McNamara?
I hear what you just said. I guess I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around the town board would decide what the town would proceed with implementing from your climate action plan.
Yeah.
So I'm just speaking maybe from the Lower Sopus process lately, that we had a stream management plan, then we had an implementation plan, and then we have proposals being mentioned. It just seems like a lot of extra work for the town board that also has a pretty heavy agenda.
Without a doubt, without a doubt.
And just sort of along the same conversation lines, there are grants that are available. And I just was looking at who was awarded very large grants in our community. And so I guess I would encourage you to reconsider what you just said. It might require conversation with the town board to see if they're willing to take on that role, because it feels like that's the role of the CAC and the
No.
Climate Smart Task Force, to be involved with advocating, advising for climate related issues. And that of course the town board would
Advising,
Isaac, is that sorry?
advising.
And
That's what we do.
Okay.
I would think that what we're doing is we're creating this plan to present to the town. We're advising them that this is how we should look at our environment going forward.
Right.
And what they do with that would be up to their abilities and, how much bandwidth they have to implement it. Not up to us, because that would be
It would also require grants to implement it. So,
well, that, yes, that, of course, but
And-
that would be part of the decision of how to implement it. Okay, we can do grants, or we can have, whatever, the recreation department do this, or the school board part for this. That would be one of the elements. Mario?
Yeah, I would just like to say two things. First of all, I would like that we agree at this point, so that you guys agree at this point, that the task force will be the outreach team, but this is what you're going to do. What we talked about originally, and I'll rework that language, essentially make the public aware of the plan and get feedback. Okay.
Yes.
Are we agreed on that? Can we
Yes.
Yes.
tie that one up? Okay, got it up. Good. Second point, what Mary McNamara is talking about is implementation. That's a whole other topic. And what I'm suggesting is that we table that for now. At the next meeting, we'll talk about implementation, and then just move on to the next item.
Okay, great. Good. Yes, I agree. Does everybody else agree with that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's move on.
Okay, let's do that. Is there anything else you want to say about this draft, Mary? Oh,
No,
Mario?
no, the only thing, I just said what I said. I got the gist of what you guys are willing to do, and I'll rework the language.
Great. Okay, cool. Great. Fantastic. Okay, what's next? Okay, landfill leachate. So I attended a webinar put on by, what do they call it? The Hudson and Mohawk Rivers Leachate Collaborative, headed by Rebecca Martin, who's a mover and shaker in Kingston too. She's
Yes.
quite a strong person. She's great. And what she just, I don't know if you read what I wrote it attached and stuff, but what the basic thing is that many landfills have to collect leachate. They can't just, throw them on the neighbor's yard. And they collect them and they send them to wastewater treatment plants. And there is PFAS in this leachate. And the wastewater treatment plants are not equipped to deal with that. They just do the organic matter, and a lot of it's going into the Hudson River. Saugerties was highlighted as one of those places sending their stuff to the Glasgow, water treatment plant, and dumping in the river. And then there's 19 other communities that get their drinking water from that. It's a loophole because it's not illegal. It went under the radar or whatever. And DEC has been talking about doing rulings on this, what to do, how to do it, and stuff like that, but they haven't yet. So it continues. So it's a much broader thing that's more detailed. There's information in both the webinar you can see there, and there's a whole bunch of other information there to flush out what's going on. But basically what Rebecca said is she was encouraging people to get, especially their town boards, to write resolutions to encourage DEC to speed up that process so that you know at least what to do with it. And she felt that if that happened, then not only the rules would go down, but also state help would be employed to be able to do something, because it's going to be an expensive thing. And you can't just expect the town to, take the burden. So once the rule making happens, then there would be state funds and grants and stuff like that to help towns deal with the leachate so they wouldn't have to do what they're doing, and that would close the loophole. Her suggestion was, and I included that letter, it was a template for a letter to possibly ask the town board as a resolution to ask the DEC to speed up their rulemaking. So that's the situation. I put the letter in there somewhere.
Yeah.
For you to look at.
Yep.
Do we want to, is there any discussion on that? And do we want to ask the town board, do we want to create this letter, look at this template and reword it relative to Saugerties and request that the town board send it to the DEC?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, I have my
Skip,
hand up.
just speaking on behalf of the town board, I think, yes, we need to kind of move on this as quickly as we can. A question for you, and if you outlined it in your report on this, I'm sorry, but is this a practice that more or less is completely unregulated at the moment, or is there a minimum amount of waste that can be brought to our treatment facility by law before it becomes put on a radar?
Apparently, now I can't answer your question totally, but the loophole is allowing, it doesn't, I guess what they're looking at is what comes out into the river, and the amount, because it's diluted, it's under some kind of limit, but what's going in there isn't. And the
So
loophole,
it sounds like this is something that needs to be looked at, both input and output.
yes,
Okay.
and I think that's what she wants the DEC to look at.
I understand.
Make a determination on. So what this
Okay.
letter is to encourage the DEC. Apparently they're dragging their feet. That's pejorative. I don't know if they're dragging their feet or not. But the fact is, it's not happening. The rule making is not happening. And the first step in Rebecca's mind is, we can't, as Saugerties, okay, we're going to go get a machine to take all this leachate or the PFAS out. What we need is guidance from the DEC on how much there is there and how much is acceptable and what are the methods to do it. So we need the DEC to make the rules so that we can follow the rules. Right now, there's no rules.
Sure.
Okay.
Mike?
Yeah. I think maybe Zach can look into this. What is our process at the landfill? First of all, we're an inactive landfill. And the seminar really highlighted active landfills as being much more polluting.
Sure.
Obviously, since they're getting rainwater right on the material. So I would suggest before we go running off, that we get some kind of report as to who is responsible for the collection of the leachate,
Yep.
how much is actually going to Glasgow for release. Now, also in that, they talked about testing. Do we test the leachate? I doubt it. It's very expensive. So I think we just need to first get our own situation as what we're doing at our town.
Yeah,
before-
I can compile that, Mike, for sure.
Okay. I just
Let
few
me be
other
really,
things.
let me be really clear on what the ask is. The ask is for the DEC to put up rules, make rulings on what is to be done. So yes, we need that information, but we also need the guidance from the DEC
Right.
to be able to deal with that. So what you're saying, Mike, is right, but it doesn't exclude getting the DEC, because once we know what we got, we have no rules on what we can do with it until the DEC rules. So the ask is to write the letter to kick them in the butt.
I know. I think before we do that, we should get some information exactly on what's going on at our town.
Mike,
Yeah.
The second thing is, I listened to the seminar. And from what I got, I didn't get, and I may have missed it, Skip, but the funding for testing of the leachate,
Mhm.
I didn't get that it wasn't the responsibility of the town. I didn't hear anything about grants or state money or anything like that.
I spoke to her afterwards.
Well, okay, you got information that was not given out at the seminar, and I'm going on under the misguided maybe or uninformed situation of this could roll back on our town in terms of very high. I'm not saying that it shouldn't be done, but before we jump into this thing, let's get exactly how the funding of this treatment is going to be.
Okay.
So
we just let it go until
not let it go. Well, I think we should at least get some information from the town, and even have the town look into it.
Fine, right?
Yeah, I mean, if Zach is going to take it upon himself just to find out what's the situation, take it another step and say, somebody from the town investigate as to the implementation of testing and how is that going to be financed.
Right. Okay.
I'm just saying we shouldn't put ourselves in a vulnerable situation. It should all be done, I agree. It shouldn't even be dumped in the river. It should be treated somewhere,
Right.
but that may not happen. So I'm not saying it's not.
So you're afraid that if we write a letter to push the DEC on, that might put us in a bad position.
Well, it may, that's not my concern. I think I don't want to get ahead of the town board.
Okay.
I think the town board should know that this is happening, and the town board should write the letter.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yes.
so they,
Yes.
so I'm saying, give us information as an advisory board, because I'd like to know what's happening with that leachate.
Sure.
And that's a given. But if Zach could bring this issue to the town board and indicate that this is going up before the DEC, and the town board should be more informed
Sure.
as to what the expectations are going to be on a small town.
Got it.
From what I heard from the seminar, most of the pollution was coming out of Albany because they're taking all the leachate from Seneca Falls, which is a massive
Oh, wow.
active landfill. And so as a small town with an inactive landfill, I just want to know that we're not going to get hammered.
Mary Mac?
So I'm not sure exactly where to begin. Zach, I'm glad you're on the call. I guess I have a question for you. How familiar are you with all the issues at our inactive closed landfill? And the fact that we are a Superfund site due to our landfill.
Truthfully, I'm not entirely up to date. Certainly not as much as the rest of the group. I'm certain of that.
Okay, and so then the follow-up would be Hurley and Saugerties are closed, our inactive landfills are two Superfund sites due to our PFAS concentrations and our 1.4 dioxane. So in the report that was published with this webinar, Saugerties was one of the sites mentioned. The other thing is that there are only two wastewater treatment plants in Ulster County that received leachate, City of Kingston and the town of Saugerties. Other places receive from other municipalities, such as City of Kingston receives Hurley's. But we only receive our own closed landfill. As far as I've been able to determine from speaking with Fred, speaking with Doug Meyer, who oversees the site, we do not have any numbers for the volume nor the concentration of the leachate that we are taking to the Glasgow Turnpike. Treatment plant. So Zach, I think you summed it up perfectly when you said that the input into the wastewater treatment plants, there's some rule making. There's a law that oversees that over a certain amount of PFAS and 1.4 dioxane, we cannot not remove that leachate. However, there is no law that says what treatment has to be done so that the effluent coming out of the wastewater treatment plant meets a certain standard. And so therefore going back to what Mike was saying, there is no grant money that makes it easy for doing the right thing.
Sure.
So yes, Skip, our contribution to the Hudson River is modest, but our contribution to the Hudson River is a short upstream from the 7 different municipalities, including Poughkeepsie, that take their drinking water from the Hudson River.
Right.
So the Superfund site at the town of Saugerties, DEC has been there since this summer. There's a requirement for them to come to the public. So I'm sorry for going on so long, but I guess I do think that the town board should be writing some sort of letter saying how we are an example of a community that needs assistance and guidance from the state as well as funding. But also if the CAC or Climate Smart Task Force wrote a letter that would be separate from or in addition to the fact that we ourselves are a community that's contributing to the problem. I think that would be good. So Skip, thank you for being so clear and succinct in getting this letter created. I do think if the letter is coming from one of the communities that's a contribution to the problem, that we should somehow acknowledge that we are aware of that and that we want to do the right thing and therefore we need guidance from the state.
The ask for, I talked to her afterwards. She called me actually because I had a question out about how do
Right.
we deal with this thing, this
Right.
information thing that Mike brought up.
Right.
And she said, right now, you know, what they're pushing is that they want the towns to reach out.
Okay.
The towns
Okay.
have much more effect. Help us. You know, we
That's
want
right.
to deal with this problem. Help us. So that was the problem.
Yes.
So, Linda?
Yeah, I think, yeah, given what they're saying, this letter should come from the town. But perhaps the letter you've composed, you could with edits
Let
suggested.
me make this straight. It wasn't my letter. This
Okay,
was
okay,
a sample letter
Right.
from this collaborative penned
Right.
by Rebecca. That was a template
Gotcha.
to put forward to towns for them to write to the DEC.
Yeah, yeah. So I think, given that, say that to the town, this is what we think and we would like the town to say and include the information about how we are contributing to this problem. But I like the fact that it included some new waste management regime that shifts the cost burden away from the municipalities and back to the polluters. So that addresses not burdening the towns with this because they don't have the finances for this.
Right.
And
Stephen? Oh, I'm sorry. Were you done?
I'm good.
Okay, Stephen.
well,
Or
well, I
Elizabeth.
just, I just think that I read that the DEC had started to address this problem, but it had fallen by the way, they had not done anything or done enough. So I think this is especially important to reintroduce soon by the towns.
Okay,
I-
right. That's exactly what she was suggesting, that the rulemaking had started, but it was languishing and that they needed encouragement to give the towns an idea of what to do. So I guess if we have Zach, query the town and get the information that they have and report back to us and see if they want to write a letter or they want to use this template, maybe at our next meeting, Zach can report on what the awareness of the town is. I talked to Leanne and she wasn't very aware of it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
maybe you can start a conversation with the town and see what their awareness is. I'm sure they want to do something about it. And I'm sure that they're also in the position, as Mike said, we don't want to get us in a position where we are so morally high that we bankrupt ourselves.
Sure.
But we should
Sure.
find out what we've got to do something about it. And if it is helpful for the DEC to have a rulemaking and therefore start some funding about it, then that would be the thing to do. Mike?
I assume that Zach got all the information that you sent out, right?
Yes, I did. I also, I apologize. I didn't respond. I didn't have any issues opening the documents or,
Oh,
or
good.
the webinar information. So I did save everything and I have it all ready to go.
Okay,
So why don't you, I'm sorry, Mike. I'm sorry.
no, if that's disseminated to the other board members,
Yep.
Yes.
that would be great.
Not a problem.
Okay,
Thanks,
Elizabeth?
Zach.
Stephen again.
Stephen?
I don't think we need much fact finding about what's going from the landfill to the wastewater treatment plant. I think we should draft a letter for the town board to turn into a resolution and get started on it now. We can do the fact finding, but I don't think we need to wait for it, because the real thing is to get every one of the communities that's misusing its wastewater treatment plant this way to call DEC, give us some guidance, give us the regulations,
Yes.
and then we can fix it. I think.
Okay, so Zach's going to go, with the board and find out what get a temperature about what's going on with the board and report back to us. And then we can see how far along. Maybe they've all thought about it. Maybe they do want to do this. If not, we can encourage him to. Okay, Zach? Zach?
Yep. That
Okay.
sounds good.
Okay, great. So he'll report back to us in our next meeting, and
Yes, sir.
we could even work on a draft letter in the meantime.
Yes.
But
Well, that's, that was going to be my suggestion, Skip, is that all these things can happen kind of simultaneously. And,
Okay.
I'll engage the board long before our next meeting, even though it's only next week, but I can disseminate the materials tomorrow and just get the discussion going. And then
Great.
maybe we
Great.
can have a fruitful conversation during pre-board next week.
Okay, great. And we can look at this suggestion of a letter. And Stephen, maybe you can look at this and see how you might want to
Sure thing.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, great, good. So we got that going. So now it's now it's Zach's turn again here. So we did talk about the leachate was one of the things on the thing to ask him about, but so I wanted to say before we start, I'd like to talk about the task force logo first, and I wanted to give a preamble to that in that after the August 14th board meeting where Saugerties Farms LLC used in their PowerPoint the task force logo, I wrote an email to Josh Summers, their publicity person, saying, you didn't get permission, you're not allowed to do this. Then in December, they put out that 4-page full color thing using our logo again. And I went to the town board and said, what should I do? And Freddie said, well, I said, we already went there and talked to him. You should take some action. And then I wrote a letter to the editor, which I disseminated to everybody. And cooperatively, we got a letter together, although they didn't do it how we asked. But the letter did get in. It wasn't until January 8th because they didn't have an edition before that. So the letter did get in, and it made clear that, they had done something unauthorized and to stop it. So that's where what action we took. And so I wanted to know now, I heard that the town board might have approached them, but I'll turn it over to you, Zach, to let me know, or you also know what they've done about that.
Sure. So the update I have for that is kind of much of the same in regards to our last correspondence. Since that letter was since that letter to the editor was put out, the town board collectively hasn't really engaged each other in a conversation about this. The way it was explained to me when I had originally reached out to Fred about this, the only responses I got on it in total were from Fred and were from Mike. And basically what they alluded to was that they had a off the record conversation with one of the developers. They didn't specify who, and they kind of outlined the concerns that you had brought forth, and they offered assurance that they wouldn't do it again, that their intent was to not be, misleading or anything like that. But the response that I got from Fred, I'm sure it was sincere, and I don't doubt that, necessarily that's what was said, but it just seemed kind of weak. I do think this was pretty misleading. I did not get the mailer myself at home, so I really only saw what was shared via this group. But that's more or less where we're at right now. The 5 of us haven't had much further of a conversation about this.
Okay, so we'll have to talk. That's the information for you in the CAC. Should we go farther with this? Should we push this farther? I think it was intentional. Why wouldn't it be?
Yeah.
Why would they put it in there if they didn't meant that? I
Well-
mean, so I don't know how much on our high horse we should get this. If they said off the record they won't do this anymore, and they don't do it anymore, it's pretty much water over the dam. But
Skip, not to cut you off again, but when this is going to continue to heat up. Hold on 1 second. Baby's crying.
see, she doesn't like the logo being misused.
Sorry about that. As this year progresses, even into next year and whatever a new board might look like, this project's going to really ramp up. I anticipate there being countless more mailers, things along those lines. So to say that this might not happen again, it's not too confident. The committee certainly has my support where if you want to, expedite this to the next level, whatever that may look like, it's not a good look, whether the intent, was deliberate, whatever you want to call it, but the optics aren't good. It was certainly inappropriate to do it more than once. But that's just my thought on it.
Okay, so I don't know, we should have the rest of his report, but we as a group should think about this and see if we think that's an adequate response from the town. I mean, if they're not going to do it anymore, okay. So I don't really know.
Yeah.
Mario?
How about we follow up, or Zach follows up with the town, saying we would like a written response to to your letter that was in the paper. We want a definitive answer and assurance
From the developers.
from the developers.
Yes.
That we
Okay.
want assurance that this will not happen again.
I can do that.
Okay.
I think,
That seems, that seems,
in terms of follow-up, I think we got to button this down because right now it's happened once, it shouldn't have happened. It happened twice, it shouldn't have happened. And unless we button this down, this can happen again. And it's very, very disturbing to think that the developers would put out in the community the impression that this task force is, quote, endorsing. That came down, that logo came down under the top heading of the endorsement.
It did.
This cannot continue. This cannot continue. And we need written assurance that it will not happen again.
I think that's a really good way to handle this. So can you see that that's done, Zach? Can you see that that's put out to the town board?
Yes, absolutely. Not a problem.
I mean, that shouldn't be a problem for them. I'm not going to advertise it or anything. We're not going to advertise it, but
No, it's,
No.
it's not, you're not taking the approach of, bashing or anything like that. You're looking for a direct written response to something that's already been published. I don't see why that would be a problem.
right, and that they said they wouldn't do. So
Correct.
put it in writing. Don't.
Yep.
You know.
No,
hang
that
on.
shouldn't be a problem. I'll get on that for you.
Great, thanks.
You're
Okay.
welcome.
So the other things are what's happening with the DGEIS. Anything?
No. So the last we spoke about that, we sent the comments, the revisions back to the developers. We haven't gotten any update back, so it's still in their hands. Yeah, no update on that at the moment.
Okay. And the drinking water protection plan?
Excuse me, Skip, before we jump ahead, may I
Okay,
just-
sure. Yeah, sure.
Okay. With respect to the DGEIS, we know there's no time frame by which the developers have to respond.
No.
We also know that there were to be and may have been discussions among the developers and the developers representatives and members of the town board in what I think was called maybe a workshop has had in order to resolve some of the outstanding issues and the inadequacies and the incompleteness. Has that taken place?
That has not taken place yet. No.
Why not?
I have no answer to that, Mary.
Why not, Zach?
Because no, it seems to me that if this project is going to move along, there should be a dialogue between the parties to move it along so that the developers know what's required in that draft. So that's why I'm wondering.
It is the fact that they can take their own sweet time, So
no, but I think, just to, all jokes aside, just to speak to Mary's point, I think, it is incumbent on us to apply a little bit of pressure. So, I think you're right. I think we need to take a little bit more initiative on that side collectively. So duly noted.
Could I ask, I'm not clear on, is it okay for some town officials and the developers to have communication without letting the public know?
I believe that would defer to the basic open governance law on that, meaning that if there's X amount of board members present, then it has to be an official meeting.
Correct. If it's a quorum, I understand that.
Correct.
But if it's not a quorum, can that happen? And is that happening? Is really because
that,
there's a lot of rumors.
I would like to think it's not happening, but to answer your question, could it happen? I suppose it could.
Right.
I guess it has if the answer to the letter was somebody from the town board talked to somebody, one of the developers, on the side unofficially off the record, then there was some, at least in that instance, there was some communication.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I would just in that instance, I would chalk that up to that conversation taking place as a result of what happened, not, a conversation out of the blue. But yes, I mean, essentially, you're right.
You should be really sensitive to that, because one of the issues that some members of the community and some of them gotten outspoken about is that there is dialogue
Sure.
between the development and the town board without the public being present,
Yeah.
and things could be happening under the table. I don't really think that major things like this is maybe a small thing relative to the developers, but still, if it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
You can't be a little bit pregnant. I mean, it's
Yeah.
either happening or it's not happening. And in this case, it happened, and so it's something you should be really aware of.
Sure.
Because not that I think that you're doing negotiations under the table out of the public view, but anything that happens like that would.
Yeah. The perception is there.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
The point that I was making is not that the conversation was between the developers and the town officials. My point was, and my understanding was, this would be a meeting between the town's planners and the developers' planners. So this to me would be an internal it would be an internal meeting. The town officials would not be at it. It would be a way for the representatives of the developer and our planners to get together and say, okay, folks, this is what we need to do, and come to an understanding. So my question was, has that happened?
Yes.
I was not implying in any way that the town board was in any way talking to the, or meeting with the developers. Even if there's only two, they can meet. It's just, as Carol pointed out, there has to be a quorum.
Okay.
Mary, in fact, I think when we interviewed the consultant, she mentioned that she was wanting to have
Yes.
conversations with them to try to get this thing moving along.
Yes.
And iron out. So that's definitely appropriate. And I think what you're making the difference is correct. It's not like we're talking about town board members behind the scenes doing it. The consultant should be pushing them to get the process moving.
So I wasn't implying by that what Mary was saying was something that shouldn't be done. I was saying that, that the town board member talking to one of the planners off the record. What we're talking about, that workshop, is just the planners talking to, not the town board talking to, just to facilitate and clarify what needed to be done to make the DGEIS complete, which I think is a good thing. And I think Mary's right, they should be done, but it doesn't sound like the town is dragging their feet. That Adriana says she was anxious to do that. It sounds like the developers are dragging their feet. And I don't know if we can do anything about that.
I just going back to speak to Mary's point when I said, I think it's incumbent on us to a degree to kind of urge this along. I believe we have a role in that. I think there's some other factors that the reason why developers might be dragging their feet, and I'm sure all of your ears are to the ground, but there's several rumors out there that they might be looking to sell the property, that they have buyers lined up, that's why feet are dragging. It's kind of hard to determine what's accurate and what's not, but because of their feet not being held to the fire on a timeline, I do think we can only do so much. But I do think, just to speak to Mary's point again, that we can we can nudge them a little bit more than we have been. I agree with that entirely.
Okay. Okay. So what about the drinking water plan?
Yep. So obviously,
or did you have another question, Mary? I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, no,
I'm sorry.
Zach, we talk about the developers, and it's Saugerties Farms LLC. Who's in the LLC?
Can you ask that again?
Yeah, we talk about the developers, and we know that the sponsors and the applicant for this project is Saugerties Farms LLC. Who's in the LLC?
who is in the LLC, the three, the three Sorgerties developers. I would have to go back and look off the top of my head.
But we know who the three are. We know who the three are, but we know an LLC can be more than, it can be one, it can be three, it can be 20.
Yes.
It can be developers, it can
Yeah,
be.
right. I was saying aside from the three developers that everybody is familiar with, I would have to go back and look. I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, could you find that out? Because I'd be interested to see
I
who
could.
else is involved in this project. And we know, obviously, the three gentlemen who are, residents.
Yes.
Great. Okay,
Yep,
thanks.
I can do that. Not a problem.
Thank you.
Okay, so we off that, we enter the next.
Yep.
Drinking water source protection plan.
Yep. So I had a good conversation with Fred about that. Obviously the village is signed on, ready to go. It looks like the town is, prepared to be in lockstep with that. Kind of just waiting on some responses from a couple other board members, but it looks like, like I said, it looks like we'd be in lockstep with the village.
Right.
Great. Very good. Thank you. That's a
big.
Once I get, feedback from everybody, I'll give you a more comprehensive response, but it does seem like, something that the town is willing to participate in.
Just so we know what's going forward.
Yeah.
So we got the $100,000 grant, and Mary wanted to do an outreach, a recognition of that, and send some information to the town. And I don't know if Kathleen got it or whatever, but is there going to be an announcement of that grant, and when would that happen?
When, I'm not entirely sure, and that is because, well, first, yes, I do believe there's going to be an announcement. The reason why I'm not entirely sure is because I believe we're waiting on the second vehicle to come in. The water treatment facility got theirs, and I believe we're waiting on the vehicle for the Parks Department to come in.
It's there, Zach.
Oh, it's there. Okay, so
Yeah,
excuse me.
because
So
I had to ask them for some documentation to submit to NYSERDA so we can get the balance of the grant. But
I
they're
got
both
you. Okay, so I stand corrected. So Parks has theirs. Was the holdup, Kathleen, and you may know this, was the vehicle waiting to be lettered or embroidered, with the town logo?
No, the holdup was that Fred was a little disturbed because one of them came with a charger and the other one didn't. And they charged,
Yes.
Unexpectedly, there was a $500 charge, I think,
Yes.
for another charger, and Fred was not happy about that
Yeah.
and tried to get them to don't give it to us, but they
Sure.
did.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm glad that the other vehicle came in because I haven't spoken to Greg's been away here and there for a little while, so I haven't had an in-depth conversation with him. But now that I know for sure that that vehicle is at the Parks Department, we can put together an announcement. I would assume quickly.
Great. Any other
announcement has to be approved by NYSERDA,
Yes.
has
Yeah.
to be reviewed by them.
Yeah, if I could jump in here on this part.
Please.
I did a draft press release, which I sent to Fred for approval, which he approved, and then it was to go to the state, to NYSERDA to approve. So my question is, has that been approved yet by NYSERDA? Did that go out to NYSERDA? Did it get approved by NYSERDA? Because that was
Go ahead, Mary. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was a holdup. In other words, I did a draft press release. It went to Fred. Fred said, great, fine. And then I said, well, it's got to go to NYSERDA. And I gave him the contact to whom to go to NYSERDA. So my question is, did the draft go to NYSERDA so they could put in their quote? And did it go, or did it come back, and where is it? Where is the approval? Where are we?
I was not aware that you had sent that to Fred. Let me follow up on that and see if it was sent. If it wasn't, we will send it out, and then I can get you a better timeline.
I thought it was rumored that Kathleen got thrown in Kathleen's lap. Is that true?
No.
No? Okay.
No, because no, I got an email because Terry asked me to follow up with it. I said, I just don't have time right now. I just really can't do this. And I got an email that was sent to Kathleen, and you didn't get that, Kathleen?
I don't remember getting that.
And Mary, whether or not I would have been on that thread, I'm not sure. I don't recall that either.
I can check with Terry.
Yeah.
If you want me to, I can
Well,
check.
To
with-
answer your question, Mary, either way, I'll follow up with Fred and see what that looks like. And if it has to get out, we'll get that out ASAP.
Okay, okay.
So
Thank
any
you.
more questions for Zach relative to the town? Okay, we can move on. Pollinator Meadow update. Leslie couldn't be here. She just said the grant was closed out. The final report was filed. The $1,200, which went to the, not the 3,200, but the 12 went to the Parks Department, and that's exactly what was called for in the grant. So that's all completed. So we won't be doing anything else. We went out there in December and did a little bit of a cover on some stuff, and we didn't do the major uncovering because it was too cold and probably not appropriate till. So we're going to do some more uncovering and reseeding, maybe in the spring, but probably next fall. So that's where that stands. And the EMC report, why I ask about that is that Rebecca Martin also mentioned that and said that they were going to have discussions about the leachate situation because Kingston is involved and several other communities are involved. So that at the next EMC meeting, that leachate, from landfills might come up. So Leslie wrote back and said she's not sure whether she can go or not. We'll see. So it would be great if she could and get us some feedback from other perspectives on how to deal with the leachate. So planning board report, you got anything there, Carol?
No, we're having our meeting next week.
Okay.
So nothing's come up about Winston Farms specifically.
Okay. Well, about anything.
I know, but.
Okay. All right. So I got wind of something called community preservation funds, and I set out some information to community about that. Did you read it? Do you have any comment about it? Shall I read the blurb about it?
I didn't.
Basically what this is, Stone Ridge and a few other people have done something. The municipality has designated formerly private land for recreation through a community preservation fund, making it accessible to all and supporting broader movement and safeguard vital ecosystems for future generations. Community preservation funds, CPFs, originated in Massachusetts in the early 2000s to support local initiatives for preserving farms, read Winston, forests, historic buildings, open spaces, and other ecologically important areas, funded by one-time fee on home sales. Local community preservation committees, CPCs, more C's and P's, holy cow, typically consisting of 5 to 9 members, oversee programs and make recommendations on community preservation acts, projects to the local legislative body. Municipalities must receive authorization from New York State Legislature and a majority community vote from a ballot referendum to establish a CPF. Within the Hudson Valley, Westchester, Putnam, Ulster counties, as well as the towns of Fishkill and the Northeast and Dutchess County are authorized to establish those. 6 Hudson Valley communities have established CPFs, and the towns of Red Hook, Warwick did it in 2007. The town of New Paltz passed the measure in 2020 with over 70% voter support, and the towns of Gardner and Marbletown followed in 2022, and the town of Chatham approved the measure in 2023. So it's a way of the community getting together to preserve things. We don't have to, count on somebody else to do things. So you can read it over. I sent the thing. Maybe something we want to consider. I just thought we don't have the biggest discussion here, but just to put it on the radar, because it seems like a really good way to preserve lands.
Mhm.
I don't know. Maybe if Winston Farm actually gets sold, maybe, we could have a fund to preserve some of it. But it seemed like and since communities our size are doing it, Red Hook's doing it, then it's not like out of our range to do stuff like that. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, I had a few comments. just,
Okay.
just dreaming a little bit. Some of the Winston Farm proposals leave 70% of that land unused. And wouldn't it be interesting to put out a referendum to the town where we would be entering into a fund to purchase that land?
I had that same dream.
It would be a win-win
Mhm.
for
Yep.
those that want to preserve most of that land and those that want to develop some of it.
Right.
Just
And
a
it's-
dream. The other dream is Bristol Beach, which is a state-owned land, and they don't seem to be wanting to do anything with it. And it's 200 acres right on the
On the water.
river. And I don't see anybody in the town, unless there were, that wouldn't want to have total access to that land and preserve it. So I just throw it out there. I have,
Right. Well,
it's just a dream.
CPF this would be a way to deal with both those.
Mhm.
That's why
Well-
it seemed really interesting. So
Okay.
just put it on the radar, read it over again, read the article again,
Yeah,
and let's talk about it in the future and see what we might, if we want to make a presentation to the town about it, to make them aware of who's done it. They could get information from other towns, how they went about it. I mean, it's kind of a big deal, but on the other hand, if Red Hook and Chatham can do it, we should be able to do it. So
well, the Marbletown Parity,
Yep.
Rich Parity, who I know is the supervisor, and he's pushing it. So
they did it. They did it.
So he might be a contact.
Yeah, that'd be great. So I just want to put that on the radar, read about it, and let's talk about it. So are there any other announcements?
Yes, one for me anyway. We're
Okay.
having our next repair cafe is scheduled for Saturday, February 1st at the senior center, 10 to 2. We've got all kinds of repair coaches there, from electrical appliances, lamps, wood furniture, mechanical, computers, doll restringing, sewing, mending, sewing machines, computers, photo scanning, and jewelry fixing. So we've got quite a bit going on there. And
sounds-
we also have the Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency tabling there, as well as the Citizens Concerned Against Plastic Pollution.
Great.
So
Fantastic.
they'll be there. And we have a workshop on visible mending. One of our coaches is doing visible mending. So think 1970s patches on your jeans, now embellished, and embroidery on your sweaters if they're, got a hole in them.
Or did you get this on the town website?
Yeah, I think it's
great.
on the town website.
Okay,
Yeah.
great, good, fantastic.
I can send each of you the flyer if you like.
Well, yeah, you could do that, and I could send it out to my list. That might be a good thing
I'll
for
do
us
that.
all
I'll do
to
that. And
spread
we
the
have
word.
we have a Facebook page, and there's a web page as well.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, send it to all. I'll send it out to my
Okay,
list.
cool.
Okay.
Cool.
All right, anything else? Okay,
I
we
move
can
that we
adjourn.
adjourn.
Only 3 minutes over. All right.
I move that we adjourn.
Wow.
Second.
Okay, see y'all. Thanks,
Good
everybody.
meeting.
Hi,
Thanks, Zach.
everybody.
Good night,
Come to,
everybody.
come to the Repair
Good night.
Cafe.
Good
All right.
night.
We'll see you there.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I don't get out of here.